This is From Hero to Zero, a show about the misconception of the demise of the music industry. We talk to heroes to make sense of the alleged zero, the music business. Hey Dorian, how are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Very good, thank you. So Dorian, you're the guitarist for Blues Pills, a Swedish-American-French combo.
Okay.
Been around for a handful of years, and one album out and several EPs. And first question, the music business went through a drastic change in the last couple of decades. Mm-hmm. As a new coming band or a new musician, how do you perceive it, and what do you think are the opportunities and threats compared to the old days of the music business?
Well, I haven't really experienced much about how it used to be. I just learned about the whole thing like a few years ago, so I can't really compare. But I mean, I think the internet is really big. It's huge, and it's helping a lot of bands, and it's also damaging a lot of careers, because then the record sales, you can barely even call like record business anymore, because nobody buys records. But we would never be where we are now without internet. That's how we kept in touch. So that's how the band like developed in the first place. And because of a YouTube video, we got in touch with our record label. So I mean, I think it's wonderful also to be able to carry in your phone 30 records. When I used to on the first tours, I had all of my CDs and stuff, and
cool.
It kind of sucked, change everything. So in that way, it's wonderful. But of course, back in the days, bands could tour much less. They would release a record, and they could just release records and make a living. But nowadays, if you don't tour, there's no money.
Sure.
The only way to survive as a musician is to go on tour a lot. And
so you would agree with that school of thought, right? That you have to tour more.
Yeah, for sure. If you want to make enough money to buy food and pay rent, you have to tour. Unless, I don't know, maybe you play electronic music or some things that are more popular. But even that, I don't even know. Mm-hmm.
You just said that, or mentioned that the band kept in touch at a certain point in the career.
Yeah.
Can you elaborate a little bit on that? Because you're from France.
Yeah.
The other group members are from Sweden or the States.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, in the beginning, I had met Zach, the bass player, and Corey, the old drummer, in France when I played a gig, and my band was opening for their old band at the time. And after the show, we kept in touch on Facebook. And one day, Zach sent me a message telling me he was planning. I had already heard like a couple demos of Blues Pills that they sent me, but then he was like, I'm moving to Sweden and I'm gonna keep on going with this band, and we need a guitar player. So Sweden is not so far from France. If you want to come. And I was like, Sweden? What is Sweden? What language do they speak? And I was really excited. And so in that way, that's how we kept in touch. And how we build things.
Very cool. And so internet, I did some research on the band, and I saw that you have a Reverb Nation account, that you have a Bandcamp account where you sold shirts and everything. How did you go about it? Why did you start those pages? I don't really keep track so much of those. The Reverb Nation, how is it called? Reverb Nation? Reverb Nation is.
Yeah, and Bandcamp. I think it might have been Corey and Zach at the time when we were building things up. Facebook was more of a big thing, like really, really promote and share things on Facebook. Try to get as much people involved. And I remember at the time, it's kind of funny that you bring it up, because Zach and Corey would do what they called friend blasting, which was they would just add hundreds and hundreds of people on Facebook and then just like send Blues Pills link. I did a couple of that too. And we were just like, I'm just gonna friend blast for a while. and then they would create fake accounts, because then they were blocked. They couldn't add any more friends, because it was too much. And that's how actually we got through. We met a guy from Japan, actually, from a record label. So I think then that's how we started working with him, because he's working with Nuclear Blast. So it was kind of funny.
With Nuclear Blast being your your current label now.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. And I saw that there is a Blues Pills YouTube account, for instance, with quite a bunch of videos. Did you make those videos yourself in the beginning?
In the beginning, yeah, definitely. But now it's more like music videos and stuff. So that those we don't make ourselves, like lyric videos and official videos. So both. We sometimes would post a video, like a live clip or something, or Nuclear Blast would post a promotional video. So that's how it works, kind of.
Okay. What's your take on streaming, music streaming? Many artists or record companies, they're not very happy with the business model behind streaming. What is your opinion on it?
As I said before, I use those platforms like Spotify and stuff. So I think as a listener, it's amazing because you get all those records that you can sync, so you have it offline. And so I think it's good in that way. And of course, there's the bad side, which is you're not buying the music. And the artist gets really little music from the streaming, if barely anything. And but in a way, I think some bands are smart. When they put out a record, they put it just on iTunes, for example, where you have to pay. Anyways, still now, I think they started a thing called Apple Music, which now, so it's kind of like becoming like Spotify. But anyways, back in the days were still kind of a bit, you have to pay for the music. So some bands put it just on there. And in that case, if I really want to listen to that record, then I'm buying it, because So then it's good for them, like it's a good idea. Or like the Black Keys and the latest Adele, just no streaming. You have to buy the actual copy, and then I went to the store and bought it, But then I can't have it on my iPhone, too bad.
Exactly. Well, unless you put it on
the computer.
Yourself.
Oh yeah, I should have done that.
Well, it's work, but sure.
The old way.
Exactly, the old way. Talking about the old ways, you're a young musician. You're 20 this year, right? So nowadays, consumers, they can just buy one song, not the whole album. Back in the days, you had to buy the whole album, even if you just liked one song.
Sure.
How do you perceive that change, even though you're from this generation, but your music doesn't get bought completely because people can just buy one song? How do you see that? Does it bother you that people don't buy the whole album?
If they're buying even a song, that's more than a lot of people. So in that way, it's not bothering me because they're actually paying for it, which is much more than most of the people. But it's not really bothering me. If they like the music, they can do what they want with it. It's not really in our control, so it's not really a problem for me.
Nicely said. Let's talk about merchandise. We touched upon that before. Billy Corgan, I think it was, who said that musicians nowadays, or artists in general, they have to think more in terms of branding. It's not enough to just have a band and record music. You mentioned we have merchandise, of course, shirts and stuff. Do you see other avenues for bands to make money other than touring and selling CDs?
Oh, other than touring and merch?
Yeah.
There's like the founding, how's it called, crowdfunding maybe? That can work to some extent to finance a record. There is, if you make a deal with a label, you might get an advance, which might be a lot of money, but that's not gonna last really much. Like if you really want to do it in the long run and really keep on, if you don't want to have another job on the side, then in my mind, in my experience, you really have to tour and sell merch at the shows. That's where, most of the money is coming from.
What do you think? There was this article, I think it was Deftones, who were saying that they have to tour at least 3 months in a year so that they can cover their bills. Can you compare it to your being as a musician?
I think this year we're almost going to be touring 6 months of the year. So I really think they're saying, they're being honest with what their income is coming from. And that's the same for us. Lots of touring, which is fun. I like it. I like it, the touring.
Would you say it's more fun to tour or to go into the studio?
It's a completely different process. I mean, I like both. It was good. Like at one point we went really from the studio to the tour touring, and it was really like when you're in the studio after like 2 weeks, you're really like, I want to see the sun again. I want to see the mountains, and so then after that you're on tour and you're like, finally, and then you're like, it would be nice to go back to the studio. So then you're back, and it's kind of like both are. I mean, the studio is more like of a creative process, which still is for the live show because we still improvise and so on. But it's more like the songs stay the same. So we just try to make it more, always spontaneous, and it always can be different. But the studio is really like you're really creating something from scratch and really building it up until it becomes a record. So it's more fulfilling in that sense. But both are, in a way, part of the same thing. Like they're really connected, and they help each other. Mm-hmm. No record, no touring. So it's kind of like both are really enjoyable. And
you just said no record, no touring. Do you think that is really? It's nowadays still a connection because there are many bands actually there are some bands who tour without actually releasing a new album like for years.
Yeah, I mean. You can only tour like the same songs like over a certain period of time. We've already been touring on the first record for really a long time, and the crowd is going to be asking for new songs. And the way to put out new songs is most of the time through a record, or at least through some kind of album form. So in that way, I think if you want to keep on touring, you also have to keep on putting out records. You can't just play the same songs over and over, unless you're, I don't know, a dance band from Sweden, maybe. I don't know if you know what that is. They play covers and kind of songs.
Like a top 40 band or something like that.
Yeah, for like older people. And
okay.
Yeah, maybe,
like me.
Maybe in that case you can just no. Like a cover band actually. Then you don't have to put out a record. There you go. So if you're not a cover band, you maybe want to put out a record every now and then.
Good point. So talking about records. When is the next record coming out?
Hopefully this summer. We're getting new mixes, so it's probably being mixed right now as we speak. And hopefully this summer. Not set in stone yet, but you can expect it then.
Very cool. Well, we're looking forward to it.
Me
Dorian,
too.
It was a pleasure. Very
Thank
nice
you.
and very interesting. So all the best for the future.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.